Hi, and welcome to PyCon Sweden 2021. It's time for a career panel with our sponsors. Today we are having Chris Valle from Funnel, Carolina Säll from 47X, Lisa Mellor from Klarna, Magnus Perman from Nexer, and Bjorn Hertzberg from H&M. My name is Tamara Thornquist, and I'm one of the organizers of PyCon Sweden. And before we start, I would like to encourage everyone in the audience to ask questions to the panelists, and you can write down your questions directly in the YouTube. Okay, so let's start with a short presentation of yourself, your companies, what positions involve in Python programming skills there are in your companies, how your hiring needs look like right now, and how you expect it to develop in the nearest future. So let's start with Bjorn.
So Bjorn Hertzberg, I've been with H&M for 2 years now. Previously, I've been working with data and analytics essentially my whole career. I'm currently the head of data science in the group globally. Previously I've mostly been working in finance. So I'm one of these people that actually have made a switch from finance to fashion. When it comes to Python, how we use that language in H&M, I would say that is definitely one of the staple languages that we use. It's sort of one of the biggest languages that we use. I don't have exact numbers on it. But our engineering teams are roughly 2,500 people in the business tech organization, plus consultants. And it's a large base, definitely. So it's one of the key languages that we use. And also in my area, in AI, it is the language that we use for all development. So that's me.
Okay. Magnus, would you like to continue?
So I can continue. So thanks a lot for the opportunity to be here. We at Nexer are proud sponsors of PyCon for the second year in a row now. And I am a data science tech lead at Nexer. So that means that I'm responsible for the competence development, and I help out in the recruitment process as well. So, since Nexer, we are a tech consultant company, Python is a major programming language for us. It's a big competence that we are focusing a lot on, and especially within my area where I work within data science and AI. I mean, Python is a crucial competence to have, and we're expanding a lot in this area as well. So of course we're looking for new Python developers all over Nexer in basically all departments, and especially within the data science and AI field where I work. So we're growing rapidly, the company, and we're around 1,900 consultants today within Nexer, and we're growing year by year. And data and insights is at the heart of many companies today, their business. So of course Python becomes really important when you look at this. So happy to be here and connect with all of you in the career panel.
Thank you. Carolina?
Hi, I'm Carolina. I'm from 46Elks, and we're an API company that has telecom infrastructure for the web. So basically, you can send an SMS or make a phone call via the web, thanks to our API. And we're based in Uppsala. And we've grown. We're a small company, but we've grown quite a lot recently. So last year we were 7 people, and now we're 14, and we continue to grow. And I work as a developer at 46Elks, and I'm also the head of community. So my job is basically talking to other developers daily, having a Swedish fika with developers. That's what I do. And Python is, I would say, it's a large part of what we do. both in the platform. You can use the API on your own with Python or other code languages. I myself is learning Python right now because I'm also like Björn. I switched from finance to this industry, so I'm quite new, but I'm learning.
Great, thank you. Lisa?
Yes, so I'm Lisa. I'm currently on my 3rd year with Klarna, and also the 3rd time as a part of this conference and this panel. So I'm really excited to be here as well. And Python has grown a lot within the company these past years and continues to grow. A lot of Klarna's internal structure is built with Python, and we use it both within our data engineering teams and that domain, within data science. We use it in our DevOps teams related to different things, and we also have quite a few backend teams using Python. So the Klarna app, for example, some of the backend teams there work with Python, and the app is reaching 90 million users. So yeah, those are the areas we use it in.
Nice. And Chris?
Yes.
Your turn.
My name is Chris Valley. I'm a developer at Funnel. I've been here for just over 2 years, so I'm on my 3rd year. Funnel is basically a no-code tool that marketers can use to fetch data from different platforms and aggregate it very easily. So it saves marketing analysts a lot of time and effort to get an overview of things like sales revenue and things like that. We're always hiring developers and coaching developers. That's what we're doing now, and I expect that to be in the future as well. And Python is, I think, a majority of our code base. We work with a few other languages as well, like Clojure, Rust, JavaScript, and I think we use a little bit of Go, but Python is definitely the majority. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to our first question. I guess that nobody has missed the COVID-19 pandemic that we hopefully are beginning to see the end of. And we know that the pandemic has affected a lot the way we work, the way companies hire, the remote stasis of jobs, and etc. So I'm wondering what kind of changes you've seen in your companies caused by the pandemic, and what of these changes you believe are here to stay, even when the pandemic is over. Bjorn, would you like to start again?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, we see a lot of more remote working. We see a lot of working from home. And what we've seen at H&M is that it's worked out really, really well. I think it's in part due to the agile methodology, where we plan what we're going to do. Everyone agrees that this is a reasonable amount of work, and then we deliver on that. And the productivity, if anything, has just increased. One of the things that we really were stressing a lot during the pandemic was that don't work too much. Make sure that you keep a reasonable amount of time. We've added buffers between our meetings for all managers, so that you actually have this technical break. You can, and we really stress that do take a walk when you're talking in a meeting or anything like that. And based on the discussion that we have so far, I think this is here to stay. Definitely, we're not working less from the offices. We're going to see a gradual return to the offices. And we expect that we're going to have more face-to-face meetings. We're going to have I mean, lunches, get-togethers, meetups, all of these great things that we've had in the past and that we unfortunately needed to try to do digitally. But I think there is a larger acceptance of working from other cities as well. So some people in our organization have actually moved to other cities during the pandemic. And the expectation is that that's not going to be a problem. They can work from Uppsala, they can work from Göteborg, and it will still work. We are thinking of ways of splitting office time, making sure that we have a good meetup time. But I think also one thing that I'm stressing is that I'm not going to be in the office and put on earphones and trying to isolate me from the rest of the team, because I can work from home instead. And I'm going to use this new setup to actually do that. But then when I come into the office, I want to use that time in the best possible way and meet up people and talk with people. So I think it is going to have a huge impact on how we work at H&M, definitely. But we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's not going back just to the normal that we had before COVID.
Okay. Magnus, how about Nexer?
Yeah, I mean, I can only agree with Björn. I mean, the COVID pandemic has just accelerated the way that you can work remotely right now. So, and we are tech consultants at Nexer, so we are used to not seeing each other every day and keeping contact in digital channels and so on. But of course, it has really been a difference out with our clients where, yeah, you were in the office 5 days a week, at least. And but now the last year and a half, you have been, where everybody has worked remotely. And I mean, that has worked fine. So absolutely, it has really worked. I mean, if we look at Nexer, how we have conducted interviews and things like that, I mean, of course, they had to switch to remote as well. And even that has worked fine. And now we're gradually, I mean, we're going back to the physical meetings again, and to be able to see each other in the office and have a coffee and chat with each other. So that's really nice. And I mean, when I look at the client I'm based at, we're trying to at least coordinate so that the team is there at least like once a week, so that everybody in the team can be there at that day at least and meet up each other. So that you will have like one day where you can meet your team colleagues and get that social work. But I mean, I think the hybrid workplace is here to stay for sure, which is good, I think.
Carolina?
I would say, like, first of all, I started at 46 Elks during the pandemic, which was like for me personally, it felt a bit nervous starting a company and not meeting any of my coworkers. But I first met my coworkers in June when we first could be outside. And I don't know, like straight away, I felt at home at this company. But I think a large part of it is accepting that, like, Corona has taught us that digital meetings, they work. And internally, we have a principle called lyftluren in Swedish. So it's pick up the phone and call your coworkers. We need to like lower the threshold of asking questions and talking to our coworkers. And of course, you don't get to know your coworkers in the same way as you would when you're working in an office, because you don't get that time at the coffee machine talking about what did you do this weekend. But we've had once a week, we've had fika, Swedish fika, where we all meet digitally, the ones that can make it, and talk about other things than work. So I think that also has led to a lot of people that have started during the pandemic to make them feel at home and be safe in the work environment, even though we're all working from remote. And we're now also looking at remote offices because we need to, as Björn and Magnus said, there's so many possibilities that we've seen during the pandemic, and I think it is a change of how it was before, and it's here to stay. And I think that that's going to be positive.
Thanks. Lisa?
Yes, so I agree with what everyone else said. I mean, we have also been working remote through the whole pandemic, and our new official policy when everything goes back to normal, if that will happen, is that we will be 2 days a week from the office, and the rest of the days you can work from anywhere. If you prefer to be at the office all the time, that's also possible. So we will kind of offer both options based on what everyone prefers. Other than that, it also changed our recruitment process. We used to hire a lot of people from other countries before the pandemic, but then we also flew them in. We changed this, so we have the whole process remote, which has been working extremely well. And the people we have relocated have also, it has gone well. So this is something we will continue with, which also open up more possibilities for us. Teams that also are based in different locations is a new thing that we haven't been experiencing before. So that's a new setup. And we have continued to expand a lot during the pandemic. So I think a lot of things have actually changed, and it's going to be exciting to see how everything plays out and continues. And just like Björn said, I think the time that's actually spent at the office will be used for socializing and getting to know each other better, and then you know that you can sit at home when you really need to focus on something and not get disturbed. So yeah.
Okay, Chris?
Yes, so I can't say my answer is too much different. Our recruitment process, of course, has gone for the most part remote, although that's also an option we give to the candidate. They are free to come to the office if they want, or do their interviews remotely. A lot of the work that we've done has gone remote, and it has worked very well for us. One thing that I really enjoy about Funnel is our teams are made up of basically 4 or 5 people, and every team is basically autonomous. So they decide how they want to work instead of Funnel telling them how to work. So some teams decide to come to the office more. Some teams just come to the office once a month, and everywhere in between. For the first year of the pandemic, not many people came to the office, and it seems like more and more are coming back naturally. But there's no rush, and I would definitely say that some form of hybrid work is here to stay. I can't say what other teams and people want to do or decide to do, but it seems like some want to work more remote. So maybe Funnel will have remote teams, and then maybe we'll have teams that come to the office and some teams that do both. So yeah, that's how we've been affected mainly, and how we're progressing through the pandemic.
Okay, so if to summarize, it seems that more remote work in the future, and it's very important to keep life-work balance, not to work too much, as Björn said.
Okay, add one thing, and it's broadly in line with what everyone has said as well. But I mean, we are we're looking to expand, and several others are expanding also internationally right now, right? And that's partly because of this ability to work from anywhere, as long as there's a sufficient amount of overlap in the time zone. I think it doesn't matter really where we work going forward.
Okay. Let's move to the next question. I would like to talk about a career change in the middle of the working life. There are quite a lot of people out there who would like to move from a non-tech job to a tech job. And you just mentioned yourself that all of you are expected to grow, and the demand for people who can take such roles as developers, data scientists, machine learning engineers is very high. Despite of that, a lot of people who would like to switch think that it's pretty difficult and experience quite a lot of difficulties. So I would like to talk more about this. So let's start with sharing your own experience, if you have one. And if there are any switchers at your organization, maybe you can say a few words about them. Bjorn?
Yeah, definitely. I've switched quite a few times, actually. I've switched a lot. So my background is that I'm a business major, or not really business. It's quantitative finance, but it's still sort of it's finance. And I started out in the sort of asset management industry, and then moved into risk management, both pretty mathematical, and then into IT consulting. As a sort of when you code with data, it becomes natural to learn a programming language, and it became natural to move into consulting and programming. And then I moved into sales, because consultants sell things. And if I look back at my own experience, it's really about thinking what are the generalizable traits of what you're currently doing. What is it that you have right now that you can leverage in a different role? And trying to hone in on those skills. If you want to, for instance, move from, for me, for instance, from consulting into sales, well, go out there, meet people, talk about what you're doing, hone in and improve your talking skills, your negotiation skills, because that's essentially the core competence in sales. In data analysis, hone in on the programming aspect of this. And I would say, as a data scientist, which is sort of the key profile that I try to recruit for, it's really important to blend the business understanding with the mathematical understanding and with the programming skills, right? But many people hone in on the programming skill perhaps a bit too much, or the mathematical skills too much. And not enough people really understand the business side of the problem enough, I would say. That's a general statement, and I see it everywhere. The more you understand the business challenges, the better you can become in data science. But you also need to have a fluency with the data. That's also one of the challenges, that the business side understands the business model. The data model is slightly different. But if you can understand both of those sides, and then also use programming as your tool to deliver business value, then you have a really, really strong profile. And I would sort of, if you can demonstrate these things, I'd hire you instantly. But yes, you do need to have the programming skills. You do have to demonstrate that you know the models to some degree, and you need to demonstrate that you have some business skills as well. Personally, I'm looking for those people, and I'd be happy to get more people applying with that well-rounded profile. And the people that we tend to find are sort of more hardcore data scientists that have worked a lot with data science in very many different fields. they're also really good because they're used to learning a new area. But it would be really interesting to find people that potentially are really skilled at, for instance, fashion, but that also have a strong passion for either data and coding.
Magnus?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should promote people that want to switch career. I mean, if they don't, if they have a passion for something else and they want to try something out, then I think that's great. I mean, you should try out new things, try your wings within new areas and so on. So, but I mean, if I look at myself, I started as a Java developer, and then I got the opportunity to work more with data and with the business intelligence, as it was called 15 years ago, into the analytics field, and now with the data science field. So, I mean, I myself, I've been trying out a couple of different fields as well, and I mean, it's where you have a passion for working within. Yeah, your interests is what should drive what you should look at. And I think I can agree a lot with what Björn said there, that it's not only like that you have a statistical degree that is a good thing, or that you really know how to program. I mean, it's really important if we look at data science, if you have a domain knowledge within a certain domain, like retail or automotive or medtech, or any field of business. If you have worked a lot with that, then you have a lot of experience within that domain, and that will help you become like a good data scientist, because that has like 3 different areas. It's the programming, it's the domain knowledge, and then it's the statistical or mathematical skills. So yeah, absolutely. And I think it's I mean, if some practical advice on how to get those different type of I mean, the statisticals or the programming language, I mean, you can get certified within this area. So if you can go on certain virtual classes and so on, and you can get certified, and you have like a proof that you at least have some knowledge within this area, and that will help you, I think, if when applying, or when trying to switch job position for that next new job that you're interested in. Yeah.
Carolina?
I myself also, as Björn, I've switched careers. I used to work in finance and the insurance industry before. And I actually went to school to become a designer. I am a designer, but I'm working as a developer. So I've sort of switched into coding. And that's because I discovered coding during my design education, and I fell in love with it because there's something seeing not just like drawing what you want to do, but also yourself, like build it. There's something in that I love it. And I think, as Björn said, that Magnus as well, like all of your previous knowledge, I was a bit scared when I was going to design school that I've been working in finance and insurance. Like, how can I benefit from that in the design field? I just couldn't see it. But everything is companies, and you get an understanding for the customer, and you can talk to your customer, and you can understand their business, and like all of your previous knowledge from your previous careers, you will benefit from them in IT and the tech industry as well. So you're never worse off. You're always better for it, I think. And also, I think that almost everyone would benefit from getting to know what code is. And code is not something that's scary. I think that a lot of people and many life situations and different companies and different areas would benefit from just getting to know what code is. And I think it would be useful for a lot of people. So I think talking about code when you're a developer and talking to other people and trying to explain it to them, I think a lot of people would benefit from that, actually. And I think that we as a company we try to share our in-house knowledge. We are all developers, and we try to educate other people or explaining different code languages or different experiences within the code industry, basically. And I think we all would benefit from being a bit closer to the educations as well. There's a lot of educations. There's, as Magnus mentioned, there's online educations, there's boot camps, there's universities. I myself went to Yrkeshögskola, and I think we as companies would really benefit from being a bit closer to the educations and not being scared of hiring junior developers, because I myself am a junior developer, and I learned so much from starting in a company, and I'm so thankful that a company actually wanted to hire a junior developer, and I think they're learning a lot from me, and I'm learning a lot from them as well. So it's not a bad thing being a junior developer. It's, as long as you're curious and you want to learn, I think that's really good for the company and for the person as well. And being mindful of sharing is caring. So share your knowledge and your experience.
Thank you, Carolina. Lisa?
Yes, so I don't have much experience myself from changing careers. I have a background in psychology, and I have been working with tech recruitment since I graduated. But yeah, psychology and tech, those are kind of different as well. So, but I agree with like what everyone said about domain knowledge. That's also really important when we look for engineers. When we hire engineers, we also look at domain knowledge. What kind of industries have you been working in before, even if you haven't been working as an engineer or developer for a long time? So maybe you have been working in the right field for what we're looking for in a certain team or a certain domain within Klarna. We also look at your actual knowledge in our recruitment process, like how you perform in the process, and not really at your past experience on the paper. So we don't base this on like the number of years or what things you have listed in your resume. You don't have to like tick off all the boxes in a job ad. We look at your actual knowledge. Another thing that I really want to highlight or promote is to be at a company that values the people within the company and the company knowledge you gain. As you also said, like in-house knowledge. So for us, that's Klarna knowledge. We already know that you are a cultural fit with the company. So that's also really valuable. And we offer something that we call the irregular career path. And this is basically the possibility to make an internal move. So you can switch to another team. You can switch technology if you want to learn another technology, but you can also switch to another competence. So you can start at Klarna as in any competence and switch to engineering. So this is something we want to offer so people can actually grow within the company in the direction they're interested in. And you can also switch from engineering. We have people who do that as well.
And Chris?
Yes. So if anybody is interested in switching to a career in developing or data science, I would definitely say go for it. There's so many resources nowadays that you have access to so quickly. You have YouTube with countless lectures and talks about how to code. You have sites like Udemy, Free Code Camp, Coursera, where you can actually watch classes in data science at other universities. I mean, the resources are countless. And of course, things like boot camps and universities. I myself, I got my education in HR. I took a computer science class in college, but I never thought to major in it. So later on in life, a few years ago, I was thinking, you know, I'd really like to start a career in developing. And I told myself, it's probably too late. I mean, to switch careers. But it was in the back of my head, like it was just bugging me. And then I said to myself, finally, after maybe a year, I said, what's the worst that could happen? I learn a little bit about dev and I don't get into the field, but at least I learn something and I can just continue my career where I am. So I did it, worked hard. I ended up getting a little bit of experience at a company in web development. I knew that's not exactly what I wanted to work with, but I at least got some professional experience working in dev. And then I was lucky enough to find Funnel. And here at Funnel, I can say we hire people straight out of university, straight from boot camps. And then at the same time, we have developers that have like 15 years of experience that can act as coaches and mentors to these others that are new in the field, whether straight out of university or that have made that career switch. And I definitely think that it should be promoted that if people are interested in switching career to dev, they should, because I believe that true innovation occurs when two totally unrelated fields come together. So what kind of innovation can occur when, for example, HR and dev meet, or any of the physical sciences and dev meets, finance, economics, you name it. Like you can really get those niche innovations with the education you previously have, leverage it with development, and the sky's the limit. So, yeah, I think.
Thanks. You have already touched on the topic of taking different courses, like courses at Coursera or other online platforms to learn Python programming. So maybe you can develop a bit on that, how much you value these courses, for example, at Coursera, or do you prefer somebody with more formal education? We have also a question from the audience from Lisa, who on this topic. Hi, is it a good start for one who wants to work with data science to join Hyper Island or NAC Academy, or is it only bachelor or master programs that valid? So these two educational institutions provide more vocational education, more professional education. It's not like formal education, like university degrees. So would somebody of you comment on that?
I mean, for me, it really doesn't matter what you've studied. If you've studied academically or if you've studied by reading books or whatever. I really look for people that have sort of a growth mentality or a growth mindset that they want to continue to develop. I mean, just as a parallel, I mean, Coursera is a great platform. But when I started in doing data analysis back in 2000, the internet was starting up. It was really hard to find. When I started learning C originally, I needed to go to a bookshop to buy a book because I couldn't. Amazon didn't exist, and just figuring out which book was good was really hard. You needed to go down to the bookshop and find it. So, I mean, if we were only to look at bachelor's or master programs, then chances are that's only the juniors. And that's great to have juniors joining, but we also need to have seniors. So we need to have the full spectrum. And just as we said previously, I mean, in order to do switches, you can't always go back to university to read something. You need to read books. You need to read academic papers in data science. You need to attend conferences. You need to do loads of other things. You don't need to do everything, but you need to push yourself. And I really like the comment previously that in order to you put yourself out there. What is the worst that can happen? How if I want to start a career in programming, put yourself out there. And that's really the only way of growing as well. Put yourself out there. Take a risk. See if you can change the status quo of where you are at. And that is not just for leaps between different areas, but also within a company. That's how you grow between different levels, and you show that I'm willing to take on more.
Somebody else would like
I mean, I can just agree with that. Yeah, formal education is not everything in this case. I mean, now with in these days when we have so much online and so many courses, and even courses where you really kind of prove your knowledge within assignments and tests that they are like formal educations basically, but they are online. So I think that's really good. And I want to as well just comment that these days there are so many ways to prove your knowledge. I mean, you can enter these Kaggle competitions where you can show how you would solve a specific problem within data science. You can have a GitHub gallery where you have there are so many open projects that you can contribute to and show as your kind of gallery of knowledge to people that can hire you. So formal education and an exam is not everything these days. There are so many ways to prove your knowledge in a good way.
Okay, we have a few more questions from the audience, which is great. So let's take the one from Kenny. The question is, do you have training programs for people who want to switch careers? And the following question is, or how much time would you spend retraining someone? I will return back the first question. I think we can start with that and continue with another one.
So we have training programs. It's not a formal training as such, but we have a breadth of material, both for continuous development of different profiles. So we have different sets of material for data scientists and ML engineers and data engineers and all of the different profiles. And then we have sort of an idea of what you need to know in order to break into one of these tracks. And then it's the structure that we have in H&M is, I mean, we try to be as agile as we can, but you have a competence lead, which is your person that helps you grow in the organization. And that person is really the person that you'll talk with. There is a learning and development council that we have, so that you can look up all of the material and you can cover that on your own if you want to, but you can also check in with your competence lead and get specific coaching, what you need to do. So yeah, we do have that here at H&M.
How does it look like in the other companies?
Yeah, I can jump in for Klarna, and it's actually quite similar to what you described at H&M, and this is also part of our the irregular career path and making an internal move. So you would then get support to develop it within the new competence. You would get a buddy that would help you with this, and also you have someone that's your competence lead, which is within the competence. And you also have someone that is your accountable lead, which is basically like your team lead, who is looking into your daily work and training you in that. But the competence lead kind of helps you develop within the competence. So if it's within engineering, that's the development track. And we also have quite an active engineering community within the company and a Python community as well.
I can talk a little bit about Funnel. While we don't have exactly a training program ourselves, when we look at new candidates who are new to the industry or development, we look mainly at soft skills, not their hard skills. We look at, will they fit with the culture, communication, teamwork, empathy, because we believe that if they want to learn something, we can have them learn on the job, and we have mentors and coaches in place that will help them. And I think we have a very strong culture where we learn together. We have things like kompetensutveckling, we have workshops, we have talks, PyCon and things like that. And we're constantly learning here. And one thing that Funnel likes to avoid is things like deadlines and roadmaps. So we make it, less stressful, and we just make constant little improvements to our product. And I think that's a really great environment for people that are new to the field. So that's how it works here. Yeah.
Speaking as a smaller company, we're like the same as Funnel. We learn from each other. We have kompetensutveckling and kompetensöverföring. I'm not sure what it's called in English, but we constantly learn from each other. So me and my coworker in the community team, she's been to university and she knows a lot of things that I don't know. And I have different experiences. So we two were a concrete example of we're always learning from each other. And the things that I don't know, she can back me up and explain and do it in a way where I am, so I can actually understand it. And that happens every day in the whole company. And I think that's a key strength, learning from each other and seeing where people are on the scale. Do you understand it when I explain it like this, or should we go this way? Like, everybody is different and everybody comes in from different experiences as well. And also as Funnel, we always try to tip people on, like, if somebody's just recently learning to code with HTML and CSS, there's really great beginner courses that often are free or that you can pay for. So we always try to give people time so that they will learn depending on what they want to learn. And as long as people are curious, they will learn.
Yeah, I mean, I can only concur to the last speaker. I mean, at Nexer, we are a consultant company, so we don't have any product as such. The competence of the consultants is the actual value of the company. So of course, our competence development is what we focus a lot on. And yeah, if people want to switch career or switch competence within the company or from outside, that's something we encourage a lot. And yeah, we have a lot of knowledge sharing within the company where we share knowledge with each other. And yeah, you should be curious as working in the tech field to learn new things all the time, because there is so much things coming out. So it's always good that you want to learn new things and switch into a new area, I think.
Great, thank you. We have one more question, or maybe more like comment from Tabias. I find it hard to fit either junior nor senior developer in the Python field. How can you comment on that?
That's really hard to answer, I would say. I mean, there are probably very different requirements on a junior versus a senior developer. It also would vary depending on sort of the field that you're trying to break into. I mean, one of the things that I've reflected over is like what's the importance of a formal education versus something like Coursera. And I would say that in certain fields, it probably becomes a bit more a harder requirement that you have an academic background. And that's when you sort of, in really hardcore programming environments, real-time streaming, you actually do the real-time codecs or whatever. Potentially it becomes more of a hard requirement that you have very strong programming skills. In our field, it's more a tool. It's something that you deliver value with. You work with a lot of open source tools. So it's more about a glue type of competence. And a senior developer in Python in our field is someone who understands the many different open source projects, knows how to use them in a good way. So, I mean, I find it a bit hard to answer and potentially coach or guide this person based on the way it's structured right now.
Sorry for interrupting you. I would like to clarify it a bit. So, Tabias is asking, any thoughts on people who've been working many years as a developer in fields like integration and data warehouse, who would like to switch to a Python developer career?
Well, I guess I could jump in. First of all, from what he said about not fitting in as a junior or a senior, I don't think the label is particularly important. I think, like, for example, in Funnel, we don't really have junior developers versus senior developers. We're all just kind of developers. And that's actually really our titles, developers. Then there's, of course, a coaching developer. But for example, to come and work at Funnel, hypothetically, there is no demand to know Python or any level of Python if you came from a JavaScript background or whatever else. Like, that's totally okay. And one thing that we actively encourage here in Funnel is that, you know, if you were working like in a data warehouse, you can go and intern on a dev team and see how you like it, and move to like a data push team or a connect team, and, you know, just experiment. Like, you know, nothing bad can happen. So, you know, if he mentioned like he's in a field like integration and data warehouse, yeah, if he was here, he could just, you know, hop on board a plugin team, try it out a few days a week for a few weeks, or hop on fully, and yeah.
And I can jump in from Klarna's perspective, and it's at Klarna we also hire engineers. We do an assessment during the process of kind of what level of seniority you would be at when you joined, but it's not based on the programming language. So we hire engineers. Some of them work with Python, others work with Java, JavaScript, functional languages. So like experience in other fields can also be a benefit and add to like the level of seniority you would be at. And it's actually based on knowledge, so not like number of years, like I explained before.
I can probably add also just a bit. I mean, we have data engineers at H&M, and they use Python for data integration. So, I mean, that would be an excellent route to just sort of, and we're looking actively for those kinds of profiles. So reach out. We're looking for you.
Tabias, H&M is looking for you.
I mean, and if
H&M.
he has been working with programming integrations and data warehousing and that type of work before, then I think he will not have a hard time fitting into a Python career, because it's programming, and Python is such a nice language to learn as well if you have a background as a developer. So yeah, I should say go for it.
Okay, Tabias says, great answers. Thank you very much. Okay, let's come back a bit to a question regarding changing careers and trying different paths within the same organization. We have a question from Lisa, who is asking, what kind of life exists after data scientist role? What paths and careers exist at your companies?
For me, the way I see it, you should never go out of data science. Just kidding. I mean, you can grow as an individual contributor at H&M very, very far as an individual contributor as a data scientist. That's not a problem. When you grow beyond a certain level, naturally you move outside of what we call use cases or teams. Which is this classical team that focuses on a specific value stream or something like that. You move into coordinating work across different teams. And then you work more across potentially a domain. And a domain in our area is like an area of 500 people, roughly. And then you would probably move into a larger scope as well. But definitely a data scientist, as I see it, is someone that works with data because data is facts. And if you then want to move out of not sort of doing the coding or not doing that part, I think you should see a natural extension of sort of product development or owning a process or something like that. But I see it as a very generic, because you combine data with facts. Anything that touches those 2 points, you could actually use to leverage and move into some other career. Just as you can use whatever you have today and pivot that into moving into data science, you can use those to pivot out.
I guess I can.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
I guess I can just touch a little bit on how it is at Funnel. I don't think there's an absolute path that you have to take. I mean, we have data scientists and engineers and data operations. And from there, it's pretty much, what would you like to do? What are you interested in? Would you like to go to development? Would you like to go to product development? Basically, whatever you're interested in, you can test and see. Similar to my previous answer, you can go and do an internship on another team a few days a week and see how you like it. So it's pretty much, the path is what you want it to be. I think that's the great thing about it.
I can just add I mean, if you work as a consultant within data science at Nexer, you will see different clients, of course, that work in different domains. So maybe some clients work in retail, others work in automotive or medtech or finance. So that type of thing, it's lost. You will see different type of domains within your assignments as a consultant. And yes, we have the same as Björn mentioned. Of course, you have a competence lead. You can grow into the role and become more and more senior. And yeah, if you want to, you can become more of an administrative, working in the field of data science then. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Lisa? Carolina.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, like, when you mentioned this, all of you, like, I just realized that the tech industry in general, it feels like it's really adapting to who I am as a person, what I like to do, what's my previous experience, and it accounts for that. So I get to do a lot of things in the tech industry that I actually love, and I want to make a change, and that's what I like about this industry. So please come and join this industry in whatever way you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive take the last question from Kenny, who is asking, you've talked a lot about the advantages the pandemic brought with remote work. Have there been notable downsides?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it varies from person to person. For me, it's been fabulous because I have kids and live outside of Stockholm. So I need to sort of go into town and it takes a while for me and then come back, and just managing the life puzzle with kids has been complicated. And now with working from anywhere, that helps me a lot. But I think for other people, if, for instance, if you're younger, if you don't have a family, if you're looking for a family, just being locked down is not fun. Some people, I mean, if you're living alone, you have a need for a social life. That naturally has a big implication. I have a wife, I have kids, they come home, they bug me. But it really depends on who you are as an individual. But I think now when we're coming out of that bubble, now we're going to see sort of hopefully something that is more adapted to you as an individual. It negatively affected you, or potentially negatively affected you during the pandemic, not to speak about the sort of direct effects of the pandemic. Those were horrible. But the indirect effects have also had some negative impact for some people, but have been positive for some. And now when we can do what works best for people, for the individual, I think that's going to be better for everyone. Fingers crossed.
Magnus, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, just a practical example on, I mean, the people that have been hired during the pandemic that have felt a bit strange that you never even ever met them in real life. So that feels good to really meet them now after some time again in real life. So of course, the people you already knew through your work and your teams, yeah, no problem keeping contact with them digitally and so on, but it must have been a bit strange for those that got newly hired and never got to meet the people in the company, and for us as well who already worked there. So that has been a bit strange, but that is over now, of course, and now we're meeting back again normally.
Carolina?
Yeah, I think as Björn says, like, I live alone. It's not been good being isolated in that way, but as long as you hopefully like can talk to your coworkers during the day, even if it's on the phone or in a digital meeting, meeting people has been crucial, I think, for like lessening the isolation feeling. So I haven't felt isolated when I've been talking to my coworkers, but there's been days where I haven't talked to anybody because I've been working and I've been focused and concentrated, and not having a family life or your friends around you, and not being able to see people in the same way as you should normally. Like I feel that we have to acknowledge that the mental health is dependent on seeing other people, I think, as well. So I get that it's been hard on a lot of people during the pandemic, and hopefully we're starting to see some changes now.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yes, I mean, I agree with everyone else. I think it's also very individual. Like if you prefer to work remote or from the office, or as it seems most people prefer some kind of hybrid model of this, it is different depending on your home and living situation, and like either you sit alone or you have kids, and that's also challenging. So we see the same challenges, and have been working with like how can we make sure that it doesn't have a negative like long-term effect on our employees, and we have implemented more kind of check-ins in our daily daily work, and also like check-ins from our CXOs and our CEO Sebastian, who kind of gives us updates on a higher level within the company, which is something that's actually new on a weekly basis. So we have been working with this, but hopefully it won't become a long-term negative effect.
And Chris?
Yeah, I think COVID has definitely there's been some downsides to it. I think a job is more than just work you do during the day. I mean, it also structures your day, and it helps, like, you have a home life and like a work life. And during the pandemic, those two things have kind of been blended together a little bit. So you can lose a lot of the culture of your company. I mean, just being in the office, being in the environment, there's something to that. And it might be harder to maybe leave your work aside and, go back to home life when they're kind of blended together. Maybe you live in a small place and it's hard to work in peace. Maybe some have gotten lonely and, really want to work amongst other people. But I think as time goes on, more and more are coming back to the office, and things are getting better.
Okay, so let's wrap up here. Thank you so much, Chris, Carolina, Bjorn, Magnus, and Lisa, for participating in this panel. And thank everyone in the audience for watching and asking questions. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.